So you got a big trip coming up overseas and you want to know if you should get an Airbnb or a hotel. I have been to over 10 countries and both stayed in Airbnb and a hotel. So I'm here to give you some tips and some insights so you can make a better decision. So let's cover the pros and the cons of staying in a hotel before we dive into the Airbnb. But there's one thing to remember, the hotel restrictions vary from country, but overall I can say the experiences is usually good. But that doesn't mean there could be no inconveniences. I can remember there was a time when I landed in Thailand and we have a time difference. They are probably about 12-hour time difference from the United States, and I kind of booked that wrong. I'm not sure how that happened, but when I landed there, I arrived early and I had to wait 6 hours before I could check in or pay an additional half-day extra fee to get into my hotel earlier. Of course, I ended up paying because I didn't want to wait 5 hours. I just wanted to get in, settle down, rest. So don't let that happen to you. We'll go over some things that's going to help you make a better decision. All right. So here are the pros first of checking in hotels overseas. All right, so the first pro we want to get into for the hotels is the 24-hour customer service. The 24-hour customer service support. So, you can always call the front desk, request an extra towel. If there's an emergency, support is there for you. The support is there for you at a drop of a dime. Another thing too is that I like about it is the luggage storage. There's been time where I have a few hours before my flight, and when I checked out, I was able to leave my luggage there, go outside, explore the country a little bit more, come back, take a ride to the airport, and catch my flight. So that's a plus. Those are one of the pluses about staying in hotels when you're overseas. So just remember that the storage luggage is a plus. So you can leave your luggage there, go out, do what you got to do, come back when it's time for your flight to leave, and depart. So the hotels have better security than the Airbnbs. Hotels usually have locked entrances, security staff, and cameras, making them generally overall more safer than an Airbnb when you're overseas. In my other video, when I was in Panama and in Vietnam, I talk about the importance of having a safe when you are in a hotel or checking into a hotel overseas. And if you want to check out more about that video, go ahead and check out my YouTube channel, Vietnam and then Panama City. Another thing I like about the hotels versus staying in the Airbnb overseas is the amenities and the facilities. Many of the hotels have pools, spas, gym, daily housekeeping, daily breakfast, international breakfast, free breakfast. I can remember when I was in Bangkok, I went out to the club, came back to my hotel, and about a few hours later, I was hungry. I could have stepped outside and went out there and got something to eat, but I was already comfortable, so I just took advantage of the room service. 24-hour room service in the hotel. They brought my food hot and ready, and I was able to relax right there and just enjoy myself. So that's one thing I like about it is the room service. Take advantage of that. Those are the pros for the hotel. All right, so we're going to go ahead and dive into the cons of picking a hotel over Airbnb when you're overseas. One of the cons, as I have briefly just explained, is the check-in and check-out restrictions. If your flight is arrived late or early above your schedule to check in for your hotel, you're going to have to wait. You're going to have to wait their additional hours, whether they may charge you a fee, or you may not even be able to check in until that time comes. Also, there's another thing too for the hotels. Another tip, another con is if you're going to bring some friends over that you met outside or whatever, the hotel may charge an additional fee for that. So that's one thing to consider versus an Airbnb. Less privacy. Of course, you're going to want more privacy to do whatever you may indulge in. You want to be able to do that at your own free will without any limitations. So you're going to be surrounded with guests, other guests in the hotel. There's no personal living space like an Airbnb. So you book a room together. You guys are out there in the open with each other. There's no additional closure rooms like a suite. So that's one thing you have to worry about is just the less privacy in the hotels. In addition to the space, you're going to have to pay for a higher cost for more space in a hotel than you will with an Airbnb. So if you're going to need multiple rooms for a family or for friends or guests, the hotel could be more expensive than the Airbnb in that manner. These are just a few tips and a few insights that I had experienced. You guys, you probably have more than I have. You probably have even less. If you do, let me know in the comments before we dive into the Airbnbs. So let's go ahead and get into the Airbnbs. So I'm going to tell you the Airbnbs is usually my first place to go when I am traveling overseas, when I'm checking in, just because I like the flexibility of the check-in. When I landed, I was able to settle down right away. I didn't have to wait on the guests. I didn't have to wait on anything. It was a self-check-in. So I was able to take my time and settle down and just chill out for the day. And you have total privacy when the guests are over. If you have booked a 3-bedroom Airbnb apartment, You got doors that you can close and have more privacy. You guys are not out in the open just staring at each other the whole time you're on the trip. So let's go ahead and dive into the pros and the cons of picking Airbnbs over hotel while staying overseas. I just touched on this briefly. The best thing I like about this is the check-in and the flexible check-in and the privacy. So many of the Airbnb properties are contactless entry. So they are self-accessible properties. You can just walk in, giving you more contactless check-ins and privacy over your whole entire stay. And there's nothing better than feeling like you're at home, away from home. You have more time at your disposal. You're more relaxed. So there's something about that home feeling when you just get there, you're relaxed and you're feeling like you're home, away from home. Unlike when you're in the hotels, when you're just constantly bombarded by guests and other noises and a lot of check-ins. When you're in the Airbnb, you don't have to worry about that. It's more of just your solo surroundings and solo settings. So I can appreciate that too. Another reason why you should consider Airbnbs over hotels is the more space and home amenities. So Airbnbs are great for families, they're great for guests, they're great for groups, and they're great for long stays. Since you get to have the kitchen, you get to have stove, you get to have the refrigerator right there within arm's reach, and the other living areas. I can remember when I was in Vietnam and I had a couple days left before I went to Hanoi, which is the northern Vietnam. And I had already stayed there for a week and I needed to do some laundry. So right in my Airbnb was already a laundry machine, washer and dryer that was already at my disposal. I didn't have to pay any extra fees for that. And I just took advantage of that. So that's one of the things you can appreciate, because if it was a hotel, I probably would have been charged more for laundry service. And if you're not the type of person who like to go out to the restaurants or like to order out a lot, what you could do, you could come back Airbnb after shopping from the market and cook yourself up some nice dinner right there on the spot. You can utilize the stove, the microwaves, and the Airbnbs better than you can in the hotels. You can take advantage of the cooking. If you're on a budget, you'll save yourself a lot more money that way. And another thing what people overlook is the Airbnbs give you a more local experience. Airbnbs are often located in residential areas, allowing you to experience the destination like a local. If you're a person who likes to appreciate the culture, if you want to dive to the immersion of learning the language or speaking a conversation with a local, Airbnbs would be the better route to go versus a hotel. Because in hotels, most foreigners are always often gathered in the same areas. So they have tourist hotels. So it would be kind of harder to find a local at the tourist hotels versus an Airbnb. So Airbnbs tend to be in the residential areas. So if you're into the culture immersion, Airbnbs is another plus than having a hotel. All right, so we went over the good things about the Airbnbs over the hotels while staying overseas. Now let's go ahead and get to the cons, the bad things, or the reasons why not to consider the Airbnbs over the hotels. One of the things that people tend to miss is the hidden fees. Some Airbnbs do have hidden fees. So you got like service fees, you got the cleaning fees, and these things can add up. Sometimes these make the Airbnbs more expensive than the hotels. When I was in Panama, the Airbnbs were almost exactly the same prices of the hotels in Panama. So you get more amenities out of the hotels usually than the Airbnb. So the better decision during that time was to stay at the hotels, because here's a point that has shuttle services from the airport to the hotel, which is included into the booking price. So you want to check that out. But if it was an Airbnb, I would have to pay extra cost for a taxi to arrive there. That's just one example of many reasons why the hotel may be better picked than the Airbnb. So vice versa, then the hotel has great customer service, 24-hour customer service. Airbnb do not. They have limited customer service or sometimes no customer service. So if anything go wrong, broken appliances, bad Wi-Fi, or last minute cancellation by the host, you're on your own. You're out of luck. You might even have a harder time getting help to resolve your issue. So they can make and break your trip right there. What happens if you arrive at the Airbnb and you can't even get inside and there's no way to reach the host? So you're kind of stuck. So that's something to consider. Another thing is the safety concerns. There has been a lot of reports of the Airbnbs in these residential areas that are not safe. And if you don't know the destination location well enough, you should research the neighborhoods. Find out if it's a good neighborhood that you're staying in, if it's a bad neighborhood you're staying in. Just get some type of history about the neighborhood before you pick the Airbnb just solely off the price alone. You don't want to do that. That's a big mistake. So I hope these tips help you make a better decision whether you want to stay in a hotel or Airbnb when you are traveling overseas. There's all pros and cons to both. You just have to balance out which one you are more satisfied with. Ultimately, there's no wrong answer. You're going to have a better experience at a hotel and you're going to have a better experience at the Airbnb. I like to try to mix it up and balance it. That way I can have a good experience of both to provide someone like you with some information to help them make a better decision. So choose Airbnb if you're staying long term and you want that home-like experience, or you're traveling with a group and you want to split the cost, and you love the unique stays and want that local experience. And if you prefer to cook rather than eating out, those Airbnbs may be a better choice than you. But the hotel may be a better decision too if you want reliable service, cleanliness, and security. And if you're on a short trip and you don't need a whole lot of space. And if you want to enjoy the luxury amenities like the pool, the gym, the room service, and the daily housekeeping, then the hotel will be a better decision for you over the Airbnb. Alright guys, so that's it. If you learned anything from this video, please give me a like, or subscribe, or leave me a comment at the bottom. And if you want to see more content like this, please follow the channel. This is Real Travel Speaks. I cover everything all travel related. Also, join my newsletter at www.realtravelspeaks.com. Subscribe so I can bring travel hacks and tips to you directly to your email. Consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. Hit that like and share and leave me a comment. Peace. On to the next one. I see you guys later. Peace.